This is the Ape Ryder Gibbon moped style e-bike. If you want one of these, there's a link in the description with a 10% off coupon code. I'm going to unbox it at the end, and we're going to start out with a review and take a look at all the things this bike can do. The Ape Ryder Gibbon is a moped style e-bike with fenders and back passenger foot pegs and a big comfortable seat built for two. So it's designed to be very functional right out of the box. You can see there it's got fenders to protect you from the water. It's got disc brakes there and Fender Crusade tires, so they're sort of mild knobbies. A super bright headlight. We'll test that later on when it gets dark. And there's a look. This one has mechanical disc brakes on it, but this is kind of a prototype model, and they're going to put hydraulic disc brakes on the ones that they ship out in the future. It has a suspension fork on it with adjustable damping that you can lock out if you want, and there is no spring tension adjustment. I thought there might be one, but it turns out there's just a hole there. So if you want to smuggle things, that's a handy spot where you can smuggle things. And it's got bar end mirrors on it, which me being a motorcycle guy, I really appreciate, especially in traffic. Knowing who's behind me is a handy thing. It's got a pretty standard M5 controller, though a lot of e-bikes come with that particular controller. It's got a Shimano 7-speed shifter with a 1x in the front. And we look at the drivetrain there, 165 millimeter cranks on it. It's got foot pegs, your shifter's back there, and then dual suspension shocks on the back. So this is a full suspension moped style e-bike. And appear to be progressively wound springs, which is a good thing. I don't see a brand name on them, but they handle pretty well. They're a little on the firm side, but I like them. Then there's a good look at that big comfy seat, and there is a tail light. It's not a brake light, just a tail light. And then there's a good look at that rear fender, which is pretty substantial and really does help keep the water off you. I'm going to do a water test later on in this video. And here's the close-up look just to get a look at the paint quality and the weld quality. It appears to be very well built. I believe it's made of aluminum, probably 6061 aluminum. And the battery is that black thing there in the frame. And it is just very sturdy construction. Like if you look from a side, you can see how thick that is. So you can bolt things on it in the future, use it as a grab handle to pick it up. And a surfboard rack fits in there as well. And it has a horn. Here is the acceleration from a standing stop test. This is a 48 volt, 14.5 amp hour battery powering a proprietary 750 watt motor that they build themselves. They're one of the bigger e-bike manufacturers in the world out of Turkey. So they've been doing this for a long time, and they've just now come to America and are selling it under the Ape Ryder brand name. So it briskly takes off. I like the way it goes from a standing stop, and it gives you a good quick rush of acceleration when you rev it up. It's electronically limited to 30 kilometers an hour. Those are 31, I guess, 20 miles an hour. It's stuck on kilometers for the moment. So if you see 35 there, that's actually kilometers an hour, not miles an hour. And this is a downhill. So I started out accelerating on a flat and then ended up going down a hill to see how fast I could get going down a hill here. So this is with it out of the box if you hadn't unlocked it or put it into race mode. I'll try to get it into race mode later. But the controller has a secret password on it, so I need to get the secret password from them to unlock it. Suspension test. This is hitting a speed bump at 20 miles an hour. So the rear wheel moves a little bit, but it also shoots me up into the air. And that's on the weakest, lowest spring setting. And then if I take it off a sweet jump and try to see if I can get it to foot in the air, if you watch both ends, you can see the suspension doing its job and trying to suck up the bumps the best it can. And this is what it looks like jumping a curb. And this is 20 miles an hour after I set it to miles per hour. Running over rocks and bumps and things. I was trying to stay between the tire tracks where there's a whole lot of extra rocks and obstacles on this train track road. And you can see it handles it really well. I'm sitting with my butt on the seat, and it's reasonably comfortable, and I'm able to keep going in a straight line even at that speed. And if you have a standard motorcycle spring adjuster, you can use that to crank up the spring tension on the back. And here are those big fenders in action, keeping my Skechers dry as I ride through a big giant puddle. So they definitely do their job. You know, if you're going to have fenders, these are the best kind. They give you full coverage and they keep the water off you as much as any fender possibly could. But how does it climb hills? We've got some great hills by the beach. So we're at the end of the American continent here, and it's all uphill back to the city. So this is a great test because this hill, there's no brakes. It just goes and goes. And you can get a sense of here how steep the hill is from the angle of those buildings. So we jump on it and hope for the best here. I didn't mention the throttle earlier, but it does have a twist grip throttle there on it. And so you just give it full throttle and see just how fast it can pull me up the hill. it really didn't seem like it was struggling, but it also definitely didn't want to go 30 kilometers an hour up this hill. It kind of found a steady pace and stuck with it. But the power's there. You know, you can feel it pulling you up the hill. It's not slowing down, not speeding up. So I think this is actually a really good performance for such a long, steep hill, especially with me not pedaling. Normally when I'm riding an e-bike, if I'm on a hill like this, I give it a little bit of help with my legs. But this is a torture test, so the Ape Ryder gets no help from me. It's got to do all the work. And there you go. So 13 kilometers an hour up that hill. And just for fun, I tried to ride it in dry sand, and it went, but barely. I think if I'd let a lot of air out of the tires, it might have done a little better, but it wasn't super happy in the sand, even with the 4.0 by 20 tires that it's on it. And the controller has 5 levels of pedal assist. So with level 1, you feel like you're doing all the work, and then it gets easier as you move up to 5. So if you want to get some exercise and have it help you a little bit, you can pick a number in the middle. It's actually feels really good. So if you wanted to use this kind of bike or a bike with this type of controller as an exercise machine, but also go fast, you could do that. Set it at 3, and then you feel like you're burning some calories, but you're also flying down the road. And this is a big motorcycle-sized bike when you're sitting on it. So that's it next to my Harley for comparison. So you can see it's, you know, the handlebars and the seat, it's very motorcycle-y. So you feel like you're on a substantial unit when you're riding around on this thing. And then down at the beach, I found a Rad Runner that I parked next to. You can see it's bigger and longer than a Rad Runner by a little bit. So it just feels like a very substantial piece of machinery. And on the scale, the Ape Ryder Gibbon E-bike weighs 89 pounds. And the seat height is 32 inches from the earth. And this is me with a 32-inch inseam, 6'1". You can see how I fit on it and how high my knee is when the pedal is in the toppest position if I were to be pedaling. This is what it looks like to ride around in traffic. So you can get a good look at the uneven terrain and potholes and chunks missing from the street and just the cars and that are moving and parked and the sidewalks and the pedestrians. So there's a lot going on where I live. And people are either driving super fast or they're creeping along in traffic, and you kind of got to merge in with them. On this particular day, I really wished it was unlocked to do 30 miles an hour. I think that would be safer than, you know, being stuck at 20 miles an hour. But it's the law. So you can see you can really you get good control. The brakes are good. The acceleration is decent, and those big fat tires really kind of make you feel safe. You know, I didn't ever feel like I hit anything that disturbed the bike or made me feel like I was going to crash with it. It's just a big, solid, substantial motorcycle style e-bike that really, honestly, it feels like one of my motorcycles, just minus being able to do 80 miles an hour. And the lights at night are big and bright on the Ape Ryder. I'm really, really happy with the way the headlight works. And the tail light is bright too. It would probably be better if it was a brake light, but as a tail light, people can definitely see you from behind, and you can see what's in front of you as well. When that light turns green, this is going to be the acceleration and top speed test in miles per hour with it completely unlocked. So this is the maximum speed you can get out of this thing when you take all the restrictions off of it. And it maxed out at 24.7. I kept going down the road to see if it would go faster, but that was the all-time high it hit. And I'm 200 pounds, so the best way to find out the absolute maximum top speed of a motor is to hold the back wheel up in the air and accelerate. So when I do that, it goes to 27.2. So that's the perfect all-time high speed with the wheel spinning in air with no resistance at all. This is what it looks like when the battery dies. So you will be at about a quarter charge according to the meter, but when you go to start accelerating, then the display will die and you won't be able to turn the bike back on unless you either take the battery out and put it back in or put it on the charger, and then it'll work fine after that. So I found that I could go 20 miles on a charge. It was exactly 20 miles once I'd switched it over to miles and made sure that it was giving accurate speed readings. Here's how to unlock it. Push the top 2 buttons together until you see this screen, and then use the up arrow to enter the password 999. So you get it to 9, then you push the M button to move to the next number, go up all the way to 9, and then once you get all 9s, hit the M button to get into the programming. Number 2 is to where you set it between kilometers an hour and miles an hour. And then keep pushing the middle button until you get to number 8, and that's got maximum speed in kilometers an hour. So you can see I already had it set to 100. So 100 is the maximum. Obviously, it's not going to actually do 100, but if you set it to the highest, then the engine will max out when you turn the throttle. And then you just sit there and wait, and eventually it will turn itself off and go back into speedometer mode. Now to the unboxing. So the box comes along with the Ape Ryder Pledge. So they are committed to planting trees and building ape habitats. Every time they sell a bike, they donate some money to build ape habitats and protect the apes in other parts of the world. So you can freeze this and read the whole mission statement if you want to, but they do have a social mission that they're up to with these bikes. They're not just selling bikes. They're also trying to save the apes and keep them safe. So it's born in California, designed in Italy, and made in Turkey. I found it easiest to just cut the sides of the box. So it drops down and you've got a cardboard surface to work on while you're putting the bike together and unpacking it. It comes with a box of tools and pedals and a charger, and then you just need to attach the handlebars to the handlebar bracket here. The only tricky part is the controller's in the way. So you can rock it backwards, tighten the front bolts, and then rock it forwards and tighten the back bolts to get it tightened down. So you don't need to remove the controller, just rock it out of the way like that. The pedals are marked left and right. So on the right side, you turn it clockwise to install it. And then on the left side, you turn it counterclockwise like that to install it. And the bar end mirrors go into the bar ends. You just pry the bar end plug out, and then you put the mirror in and tighten up the bolt, and it has a plastic sheet on it. Peel that off and you can see what's behind you. There are two wires that need to be snapped together to make it run up near the handlebars. So you just click both of those together, and then also attached to the handlebars with that QR code is the keys that you would use to remove the battery. So you don't need keys to start the bike. You just push the power button to start it, but you need those keys to remove the battery. Like this. So just turn the key and then it slides right out easily. And there you go, 48 volts, 14.5 amp hours. And then the charger is UL listed, which is important. Some states, it's required by law that they be UL listed, so you don't burn your house down. And then the charging port is just down there by the crank, and you just plug it in, charge it up for 7 or 8 hours, and then you're ready to ride. So that's one of the easiest assembly jobs you'll find on an e-bike. If you want one, there's a link in the description and a 10% off code.